Hey everyone, Paul Wheeler here, Wheeler Health U. Today is Therapy Thursday, and we're going to talk about shoulder therapy. So I kind of took you through a little bit of a step-by-step progression of doing the ball rolling first yesterday, and just making sure you're getting that full range of motion. And the other thing that I didn't add in that I've done in past videos is that scapula tipping, which is the one where the band, we'll pretend that this is the band is anchored, you bring your arm in, and you do that shoulder roll, and that just kind of helps set your shoulder into a more neutral position. Because ideally, you know, when we're doing, let's say, an external rotation, we're going through full range, and we're going through it in a joint-centered position. So I'm not doing the external rotation from here, right? Because that's not going to do anything for us long term. So ideally, you know, do the scapular tipping first. I was taught, you know, you have to earn these exercises. You have to get your body, you have to get your posture down first, and then you can start to strengthen the muscles around that joint. So I try to hold true to that as best I can. Now, so I'm just going to take you through two exercises, two, maybe more, we'll see. But we're going to go to external rotation, and I'm just going to hold this other anchor point. The more I pull on this, the more resistance there's going to be, the less resistance. Or if I step away, it's going to be more, or if I go closer, okay? So basically, what I want is, a lot of times, again, I do that scapular tipping first, and then make sure before you start, you roll that shoulder up, back, and then gently down. So it's a nice neutral position. So you see how that's neutral, and then you're going to go into that external rotation. So you're standing perpendicular to the anchor, and you just externally rotate and slowly come back. And these are endurance muscles. They're meant to stabilize. They're meant to kind of fire first in order for your shoulder to move. And this is one of those ones that can become very weak and inhibited due to the specific postures we put ourselves into. So again, this isn't really going to do anything for you long term if you go back to, you know, slouching with your arms forward and internally rotated all day, every day. So make sure you change those habits as well as do these exercises. So, and I actually shoot for 10 to 15 depending on the person, but I always try to shoot for 15 myself. And I try to really incorporate these into some of my programming. I don't do them all year round, but I do them or in different ways throughout the year. So the other thing I want you to focus on is really keeping your arm light. So you're rolling back, your arm's in that nice light position, and you're focusing on the back of the shoulder blade, not like neck and shoulders. So that's what you're focusing on. Specifically focusing on that infraspinatus teres minor, those two rotator cuff muscles, and you're strengthening in that neutral position. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one, I do double just for a little more feedback, and same idea, the same starting position. So we're not looking to push and pull forward. You're going to roll that shoulder up, back, and gently down. And this is usually a stronger muscle, but it can be weak. And it just depends on the person, so I like to show it. And you want to think about, again, this muscle you want to stabilize the shoulder before you do like a larger action. So you're thinking deeper into the armpit, and that's what you're trying to activate as you're doing this internal rotation. So we're working on that subscapularis now, and we're trying not to let the pecs and the anterior shoulder do all of the work, because then this is what's going to happen. So again, roll that shoulder up and back and gently down, so you get a nice neutral position, and then we're strengthening in that position. And again, about 15 of these. Now that's the first progression, so that's very, very basic, and then we can move away from the body and do it in different angles. And then there's exercises that you can incorporate throughout your programming to make sure that you hit them when you're working out. So I'll briefly talk about serratus anterior and lower tract as well. So that's external rotation, internal rotation, so it helps stabilize. That's the main job, is for those muscles stabilize the shoulder. And the next thing is you would do a frontal shoulder raise like this, but the focus is ideally that this is lower. Let me just do that quick. So this is a lower trap raise, is like what I call it. And I usually, again, you can have it anchored a little bit lower than this. And you reach your arms forward, and you allow the muscles to kind of settle between the shoulder blades. It's very, very light and soft. And while we're doing this exercise, we'll go into serratus anterior, which is that extra little push where we reach from the underarm, because that's where that serratus anterior comes in. It reaches, and it's a punching muscle, so you reach forward and up. And the reason why those are important, and I won't talk too much about them, is when you go into flexion of the arm, that serratus anterior and that lower trap rotate your scapula up. So it's upward rotation of the scapula. And so those scapulas will rotate, and that's what allows that shoulder to get all the way up. If those muscles aren't activating properly, then sometimes that happens, or if the lats are bearing down too much, or if the pecs are pulling down too much, or if you're a little bit too hyperkyphotic, all those factors can affect whether you can get your arms all the way up or not. So there you have it. I know there's a lot of information thrown at you. The main takeaway is that it's important to have a neutral shoulder girdle, a neutral shoulder before you strengthen, before you go into that therapy kind of exercises, and then once you get those strengthened, then you can add some larger movements and work on the lower traps and the serratus anterior. Okay, so work on that scapula tipping, work on the ball rolling to get your posture down a little better, work on your posture throughout the day, and then add in those exercises, and their shoulders will love you for it. And that's it. Let me know what you think, and I will see you tomorrow for Food Friday.